Welcome to this radio imaging and production masterclass. I'm David Tyner, thanking you for taking a few minutes out of your day to come here and learn with us. I've always said that good radio comes from good writing, and we don't talk enough about writing here in this Facebook group, which is why I decided that Nick Michaels would be the perfect guy, the perfect person to come in and talk with us as our very first master in this masterclass series. In case you didn't know, Nick Michaels is a writer, he's a narrator and broadcaster. His voice has appeared on over $1 billion of paid advertising for clients like, Bristol Myers, General Motors, Coca-Cola, to name just a few. His writing, voice, and TV commercials are helping to shape the image of some of the most influential radio stations in the United States, including KSWD-FM in Los Angeles, WDRV-FM in Chicago, and KCBS AM and FM in San Francisco, among others. Now, he is also the host of a nationally syndicated radio program called The Deep End with Nick Michaels. Please help me welcome Nick Michaels from his studio in Miami. Hi, Nick.
Thank you, David, for inviting me to share some thoughts with you.
Okay, jumping into the questions right away. I've got 5 questions from the group for you. Question number 1. Like writer's block, sometimes I get creatively blocked. What advice can you give me to get unstuck?
Well, when I get blocked, as you put it, and that happens to everybody who's creating, I find that one of the components of creativity is perspective. So when I'm blocked, I try to look at the scene from a different point of view, and that often will help unblock the process. Another thing that helps is having a different character deliver the message, as opposed to, a straight announcer delivering the message. I remember doing a spot for a sports station in Los Angeles for the Tony Bruno show, and we created a fictional character. Actually, it was based on his mother being a little old Italian lady, and it worked, and here's an example of it.
Hello, this is Tony Bruno's mom. You gotta listen to his new show, Bruno and Dave. They have the best Italian recipes in all of Los Angeles.
It's not about recipes, Miss Bruno.
No.
Nope.
It's not about the recipes? That's what he told me.
Sorry.
Get him on the phone. Antonio! What do you mean it's not about recipes?
No, it's about sex.
You talking sex?
And sports.
Sex and sports?
Sorry, Mom.
You little shit!
Bruno and Dave, middays on Extra Sports 1150.
That's an example of the character delivering the message.
Question number 2, Nick, for you, I think comes from somebody that you've worked with in the past. He asks, I understand by listening to quirky production library music, you were able to create great visuals and concepts. Tell us how that works.
Yes, I get inspired by quirky production beds, music, sound effects, all kinds of different sounds. I remember doing a spot for Phil Hendry with Ray Avila at KFI in Los Angeles when Phil was on that station. And Ray said, we have some spots for Phil. What do you want to do? Have you got any ideas? Is there anything any way you want to go, any particular way? And I said, I haven't really, but maybe we can find something. Have you got any interesting sound beds, production galleries, music, sound effects, whatever? And he said, yes, he had this interesting film noir production music. And I thought, this could be cool. So we listened to it, and it was very inspiring. And within moments, we were into this spot about a guy holed up in Hollywood in his apartment, and the cops were outside. And it had that 1950s film noir feel to it. And it's just a little way to keep it interesting, because it can get awfully boring if it's the same straight announcer giving you the message all the time. So here's an example of how we let that interesting sound take us somewhere. Los Angeles. To most of the world, it appears as a glittering tinsel town. But those of us who live here know there's a dark underbelly to the city of angels. It's a cool evening in L.A. A man in Hollywood has himself holed up in his apartment with an automatic weapon. Outside, the police SWAT team is ready to make its move.
All right, Jimmy, come out of there. We got you surrounded. Now don't do anything stupid.
You're never gonna take me, copper! Never! I'm not coming out till I hear Phil Hendry. This apartment doesn't have a radio. I want a radio, and I want it tuned to AM 640 KFI, more stimulating talk radio.
Take it easy, Jimmy.
You get me a radio. You put it on. I want to hear him. Yeah, I'm not coming out till I hear Hendry. Everything else on the radio is a bunch of crap. Will Jimmy do something foolish? Will the cops get the radio into his room in time to prevent that? Tune in next time for the KFI AM 640 more stimulating talk radio cliffhanger.
KFI AM 640. More stimulating talk radio.
Question number 3 for you, Nick, is what is the most important thing to remember when working on my station's imaging? What is the most important thing to remember?
It's actually a couple of things for me. One, tell a good story, because there is nothing more powerful or engaging that you can do on the radio than tell a good story. Number 2, it's to remember that radio happens inside people's heads. When I realized that, it changed everything for me. It changed the way I wrote. It changed the way I delivered the message. It changed the way I relate to the audience. And it allowed me to take advantage of 2 of radio's most powerful tools, intimacy and emotion. Radio is the most intimate and emotional of all mass media. And for me, it's critical that I always keep that in mind and write and deliver in that way.
And question number 4. In the past, you've talked about connecting with listeners by addressing their deepest needs and fears. Could you explain that for us?
Why it's important to connect with the listener about their needs or wants or fears is because if they don't have time for yours, they don't have time for your needs. There are 2 sides to every message, sending side and receiving side. The sending side is usually the need for the sender is something like, I need you to listen to this radio program, or I need you to buy this product. If the audience if that's not one of their needs, then the message is not going to get through. It's just going to be avoided. It's going to just go by, and it's like throwing money at the wall. So making it about something that they can relate to personally, that will show them the benefit to them in their life, is a very important part of making sure that your message will be received. Here's an example of that.
Patty Anderson is an office manager at a real estate company and a mother of 4.
Hurry, Mom, or we'll be late.
1 in high school, 2 in middle school, and 1 in elementary.
Jimmy hit me. Did not.
It's Patty's job to wake them, dress them, feed them breakfast, and get them to school,
I don't want to go to school.
while still making it to work on time.
Have a fun day.
How does she put in 8 hours at the office after all that? K-Jewel, 99.3.
And our final question in our masterclass for you, Nick. In your opinion, why is radio imaging so important?
Imaging is important because it is the personification of your radio station. It's the soul of your radio station, the human soul of your radio station. It's who you are, what you stand for, and why people should listen.
10 years ago, The Drive signed on the air with a promise that you found a new way to listen to the radio.
Good morning.
And it wouldn't change.
Welcome to 97.1 FM, The Drive.
In those 10 years, lots of things have changed.
No hype.
But one thing hasn't.
No pressure.
Our promise.
Just music.
It wasn't based on a radio slogan.
The music we love.
It was a promise.
And you love.
Between friends.
Beep, 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 yeah.
97.1 FM. The Drive.
Thank you very much for your time, Nick. We really appreciate it. Before we let you go, fill us in on what kind of things you have coming up.
Right now, I am working on The Deep End with Nick Michaels, my syndicated radio program. I'm also working on our internet version of it, our internet audio experience. I guess you can call it an internet station. And but it's very different. It's not. There's no algorithms and stuff like that. It's very warm and human, very fuzzy. We tell stories and use the voices of the artists themselves to explain their music. It's a way to get closer to the content. It's a warm and human environment, and it makes listening a rich listening experience. I'm also working on some seminars that are going to be a little bit like what we're doing here, only in a more expanded manner. It's a never-ending learning process for me. I'm always learning and trying to give back what I learn. At this point in my career, that's important to me. I think it's important to give something back to the industry.
Thank you, Nick. We really appreciate you coming to talk with the group today. And don't forget to stay tuned for our next radio imaging and production masterclass, details coming up soon.